You think you're a good person. You try to be honest, polite, kind. You help when you can, you apologize when you're wrong, and you take pride in knowing you're not one of the bad ones. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if your idea of good isn't really yours? What if it was designed, programmed, and fed to you to keep you predictable and harmless? Morality didn't begin as truth. It began as control. And to understand how deep that control goes, we have to look at the two thinkers who built and then shattered the very foundation of what we call good, Immanuel Kant and Friedrich Nietzsche. Kant believed that human beings were capable of rising above instinct. That reason, not emotion, should rule our actions. He dreamed of a moral system that was universal, the same for every person in every time, in every situation. He called it the categorical imperative, a simple rule with terrifying weight. Act only according to the principle that you would want everyone to follow. If lying is wrong, it's always wrong. If stealing is bad, it's bad no matter why you do it. Morality to Kant wasn't about consequences or feelings. It was about duty. Duty to reason, duty to law, duty to the moral order itself. He believed this made us truly human. Obedience to reason was freedom, because reason, unlike emotion, could not be corrupted by desire. Kant saw morality as a fortress protecting humanity from chaos, but Nietzsche saw that fortress for what it really was, a cage. Nietzsche looked at Kant's moral system and saw the death of instinct, the death of passion, the death of life itself. To him, Kant's world was a world of obedient ghosts, people so afraid to be wrong that they no longer dared to be alive. Kant's morality said, "Do the right thing even if it destroys you." Nietzsche replied, "What if destruction is what makes you alive?" To Nietzsche, Kant's system was a trick, a clever way to domesticate the human spirit. Because once you convince people that their natural instincts are evil, you never need chains to control them again. They'll chain themselves. And that's exactly what we've done. We've turned morality into a prison of invisible walls. We walk through life carrying guilt for our thoughts, for our impulses, for our anger, for anything that doesn't fit inside the cage labeled good. We call it conscience. Nietzsche called it herd morality. He said our so-called virtues are nothing more than the instincts of the weak turned into commandments for the strong. The fearful call courage, reckless. The lazy call ambition, greed. The powerless call confidence, arrogance. And little by little, greatness is rebranded as evil. That's how societies collapse without even noticing. Not from violence, but from moral exhaustion. And now, centuries later, Kant's dream is alive again. Not in the church, not in the courtroom, but on your screen. We've built a digital world where morality is public performance, where the crowd decides who's pure and who's evil. And every day, billions of people kneel before that new God, the opinion of others. We post not to express truth, but to signal goodness. We confess our moral credentials. We wear slogans like armor, and we punish anyone who refuses to kneel beside us. This is not progress, it's just Kant's duty, rewritten in pixels. The same obedience, the same fear of being wrong, the same belief that goodness is measured by how loudly you repeat what everyone else is saying. Nietzsche saw this coming. He warned that the last human being would no longer need chains or whips to stay in line. He would police himself. He would smile while doing it. And he would call it virtue. Ask yourself, how often do you act because you believe something is truly right? And how often do you act because you fear being judged? We hide behind rules to protect ourselves from uncertainty. We crave a checklist that tells us how to be good, so we never have to think deeply about what good actually means. That's why Kant's system felt so safe. It gave people a map, a set of coordinates for moral survival. But Nietzsche believed that the moment you follow a map drawn by someone else, you stop living your own life. He said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But your why must come from within, not from a moral manual. Otherwise you are nothing but a well-trained animal pretending to be righteous." And here's the paradox. Kant wanted to save us from chaos. Nietzsche wanted to save us from Kant. Both were right in their own way. Without moral rules, we risk falling into cruelty and chaos. But with too many rules, we lose the ability to choose, to create, to think. We become obedient, not moral. Performers, not people. Morality, in its purest form, should be an expression of strength, not fear. It should grow from your highest values, not from the need to be liked. Nietzsche didn't want you to become a monster. He wanted you to become real. Because when you stop pretending to be good, you finally have a chance to be honest. But honesty has a cost. The moment you stop playing by the moral script, the world will call you dangerous. It will call you arrogant. It will call you evil. Because nothing threatens the herd more than the individual who no longer seeks its approval. That's why Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, the human being who transcends herd morality, not because he rejects goodness, but because he creates his own. The Übermensch doesn't ask, "Is this allowed?" He asks, "Does this make me stronger? Does this make me more alive?" He knows that creation and destruction are two sides of the same truth, that to become yourself, you must be willing to burn down what no longer serves you. Kant said, "Act as though your actions could become universal law." Nietzsche said, "There are no moral facts, only interpretations. One built morality on reason, the other built it on rebellion, and we live caught between them, between duty and desire, between order and freedom, between what we think we should be and what we secretly want to become. That conflict is the human condition. The problem isn't that you're not moral enough. The problem is that you've mistaken obedience for morality. True morality can't be borrowed. It can't be memorized. It has to be discovered, painfully, personally, honestly. It begins the moment you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What do I truly value?" Maybe being a good person isn't about following rules. Maybe it's about facing your own darkness without flinching, because morality without self-awareness is just theater. It looks clean on the outside and rots in silence within. We live in a world obsessed with being seen as good. But goodness, that depends on witnesses, isn't goodness at all. It's marketing. And that's why you feel so hollow even when you're doing everything right. You're not living from your soul. You're performing for an audience. You're chasing approval dressed as virtue. Nietzsche called this the sickness of modern man. He said we've become creatures who prefer guilt to greatness, who choose comfort over creation, who worship weakness and call it compassion. It's not that compassion is bad. It's that we use it as a disguise for cowardice. We avoid difficult truths by calling them unkind. We silence strength by labeling it toxic. We mistake the fear of judgment for morality. And then we wonder why we feel powerless. The truth is, you don't need to be good. You need to be awake. You need to be conscious of why you choose what you choose. Kant built a world of duty. Nietzsche dreamed of a world of creators. Maybe morality isn't about picking sides between them. Maybe it's about standing in the space between their voices, where reason and instinct finally meet. Where you act, not because you're told, but because your soul demands it. So ask yourself, when was the last time you did something good that no one would ever see? When was the last time you said something true even though it might cost you everything? That's morality, not obedience, not reputation, but the courage to live your truth, even when it doesn't make you look like a good person. Because sometimes, being real is the most moral thing you can be. This is Vox Says, where philosophy isn't a lecture, it's a mirror. And if what you see in it makes you uncomfortable, that's how you know you're finally waking up.